So, I have traveled across the world for several decades now. For more than a decade, I've been traveling. I've spoken to people from different religious backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different national backgrounds. And there is one truth that everyone in the world agrees to, from whichever background a person might be. That truth can be conveyed in just three simple words: life is hard. Life is not easy, life is tough. How it is tough may vary from person to person. For some people, they might not have enough money. Some people have money but they don't have friends. Some people have money and friends but they don't have health. Somebody has money, friends, health, but maybe their dream is not getting fulfilled, maybe their career is not going the way they want. So life is not easy for anyone. And throughout history, we humans have tried to figure out how to live life. In fact, all living beings struggle to live. We humans, we don't just want to live, we want to live meaningfully. And normally, we go through life. This is the path we have. Maybe on the path we have some goal which we want to achieve. But sometimes some giant obstacle comes in. And that obstacle just does not allow us to move ahead. So normally we are caught in our own desires and dreams and schemes. But when they just don't seem to work out, that's the time we look upward. We try to understand what is going on in life. Now, why are things not working out? So, now I'll talk about when we face difficulties, what are the things we can do? What is a normal way we look, and what is the healthier way to look? So quite often what happens? We try to push on through the difficulty. And when the difficulty just cannot be overcome, then we just become discouraged. We become disheartened. We may physically lie down, or we may just become disheartened and quit. So we try to look ahead, force our way ahead, and when we can't, we just lose heart. So Arjuna is facing a similar situation. That right now, what is the problem for Arjuna? See, bad things can happen in different ways for a person. There are different kinds of bad things. And the specific kind of bad thing that Arjuna is facing, I'll use three different words over here. One is adversity. The other is atrocity. Now, adversity and atrocity, how many of you think there is no difference between the two? Okay. How many of you think there is a difference between the two? Okay. The rest of you, you think the difference does not make any difference? Okay. So what do you think is the difference between adversity and atrocity? Yes, Prabhu?
Adversity is when things are difficult for many possible different reasons. Atrocity is when somebody or some organisation or whatever has committed something which is terrible.
Yes, true. See, adversity is more natural. So an earthquake occurs, that's adversity. But atrocity is more intentional. If our power supply goes off, that's adversity. If we came to know our neighbor cut off our power supply, that's an atrocity. So now among adversity and atrocity, which is more difficult to bear? Atrocity, isn't it? How could anyone do like this? How could you do like this? So when Bhishma is on his deathbed and he speaks to Yudhishthir. At that time he talks about these two things. Aho kashtam aho anyayam yadyuyam dharma nandanaha. He says, aho kashtam aho anyayam. Kashta is adversity. Anyay is atrocity. So now if we consider Arjuna's life, did Arjuna face any adversities? Did Arjuna face any atrocities? What do you think? What were the adversities in Arjuna's life? Anything? Yes?
Vanished to the forest.
Yes. Was that adversity or atrocity?
His father passed away.
Yes. Yes, death of his father, that is a adversity. Now what is the atrocity? What are the atrocities in his life?
Burnt down.
Yeah, so they were exiled. Before that, they were attempted to be burnt alive, targeted with arson. Before that, they were poisoned. His brother Bhima was poisoned. So he had suffered adversity and atrocity both. But through none of them, he ever came to the point, I quit. I can't do it. Here, Arjuna has come to a point where he's saying, I cannot fight. I just can't. He's put aside his bow. So what was so bad for him that now he has been overwhelmed so much? So there's adversity, atrocity, and I'll use a third word here, agony. Now the word agony can mean many different things, but I am using it over here in the sense that we agonize over our choices. Should I do this? Should I do that? So Arjuna was now in a situation where he had to do a bad thing. See, what was the bad thing? He just had no good choice at all in front of him. There are two bad choices for him. One was he fights. Now he had come ready to fight. But when he had come ready to fight, when he actually saw Bhishma and Drona, the reality and the gravity, the brutality of the fight, that just sank into him. These were his elders, and they were not just any ordinary elders. They were his venerable, beloved elders. And not just venerable, beloved elders, they were the elders from whom he had learned archery. They were the elders for whose pleasure he had learned archery. And now they were the very same elders that he now had to kill with the same archery. This is the stuff of nightmares. A more painful situation is difficult to imagine. So now he may say, I won't fight. But even he knows that's a terrible option. Because even if he decides he doesn't fight, he is not likely to be able to persuade Bhima to not fight him. So what is likely to happen if Arjuna does not fight? The war will be more brutal. Duryodhana is not going to stop fighting. Duryodhana will want to attack. And even if Arjuna is not attacked, his own side people will be attacked. There will be far greater casualties. And if any of his brothers or any of his loved ones die, and he did nothing to protect them, he will not be able to live with himself. Even if somehow he decides not to fight, and he gets Bhima also to agree not to fight, the whole war is called off. And even if Bhishma and Drona prevail on Duryodhana, he says, don't target them now, let them live. Let them live in the forest. But then, Duryodhana is a cruel person. He will target all those who chose the side of the Pandavas. Before the war, both the sides were trying to decide. Both the sides were trying to get allies. So, if those who chose the Pandavas side are now targeted by Duryodhana, you didn't support me, you supported my opposite side, I will teach you a lesson now. And when Arjuna hears about how they are being tortured, again it will be torment for him. So it's like, big power rivalry can be quite cruel. Right now India is experiencing that. India is being targeted by severe tariffs by America because India is taking oil supposedly from Russia, and that's so now India is not opposing America, but oh, you supported, we will target you for that. So Duryodhan is a extremely cruel person. So for him the agony is, if he fights, it's terrible. If he doesn't fight, it's terrible. None of them are a good option. So he just sees no right way. Neither of them is good for him. Both of them are terrible. And among all the bad things that can happen to us, especially if we are responsible, the worst situation is where we have to take an option which is going to harm someone, where we just have no good choice ahead of us. So this is a situation when we feel there is no right way ahead. And that is the situation now. Arjuna is turning to Krishna to seek guidance. So let's look at the next paragraph over here. We'll discuss today how these difficult situations, adversity, atrocity and agony, if something like that comes upon us, how we can deal with it. Who would like to read? Any of the ladies would like to read? Who would like to read? Yes, please.
Bless me, O Lord, so that I can see your blessings, even in situations when I see no blessing. Even when life confounds me, thrusting me into dilemmas where no way seems to be the right way, let me remember that there remains one right way for me, one that nothing in the world can ever take away from me. That right way is to turn to you, O Lord, who can find a way through even the messiest of situations.
Yes. So, what is Krishna? What is Arjuna doing? He is turning towards Krishna, and that is for us. When there seems to be no way ahead, at that time, we may turn towards God. We may turn towards Krishna. God, you please help me. Only you can help me, O Lord. Now, have any of you faced a situation when you felt there is no right way ahead? Yes. If none of you have, others are not faced, you are fortunate. It's extremely agonizing when such a situation comes up. So, what do we do at such times? So, the first thing is that in life, when we come to a dead end, when we see no way ahead, it's natural to feel distressed, to feel, oh, this is terrible. But from there, if we are not to lose our spirits, if we are not to lose our heart, we need to look upwards. So if we keep looking ahead and we see no way ahead, so if we look ahead, there is only a dead end. At that time, what we need to do is look up. Look up, and then we'll see what happens. If we keep looking ahead, whatever is the problem, maybe our health is not improving, maybe our career is not growing, maybe our relationship is not improving, whatever it is. If we keep looking ahead, we come to a dead end. This is where we will become discouraged. We'll become demoralized. Now, if we learn to look up, we can become empowered. So, how we will become empowered? That's what we will discuss. So, many of you know that I need crutches for walking. When I was I was staying in a small town in India. So it was a underdeveloped place. So my mother took me to a local clinic to get the polio vaccine. And at that time, because it was a small town, there were frequent power outages. So the power supply had gone off in that clinic over there. And neither I was too small, but neither the attendant nor the physician noticed the problem. So because the power supply had gone off, the temperature of the fridge in which the vaccines had been kept got increased. And because of that, the germs multiplied within that. And when that vaccine was given to me, Instead of preventing polio, it ended up causing polio. And I don't remember any of this, but I was just learning to walk and I fell down and I was never able to walk normally thereafter. But my first memory of this is when I was about 2.5 or 3, and a distant relative had come to our home and she was consoling my mother, saying, "It's so sad your son got polio." And I remember my mother's voice, very calm, clear, confident. She said, "Whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually." I don't know why she said that, whether she saw some intellectual ability in me or it was her hope, it was her prediction, maybe Krishna spoke through her. But somehow those words stayed with me. Not the God part that came later, but the intellectually part. And when that happened, so as I grew up, I couldn't play outdoor games like other kids could play. But I noticed that when I started reading, I could read things quickly, I could grasp things well, I could articulate them nicely, I could remember also well. So intellectually, I found my strength. And as I was moving on in my life, there was one neighborhood boy who was very good at everything athletic. And because he was so good at athletics, he would often, and I was zero at athletics, so he would often make fun of me, use a word like cripple and stuff like that. Nowadays we have become a little more sensitive to the power of such derogatory words, but those days it was quite common. Now I didn't feel so much hurt as I felt annoyed by that. Then one day my mother told me that his mother had talked with her and he said that he was struggling a little bit in maths and I was good at maths. So my mother said, she wants you to help him in maths. And as my mother was saying, I said, "No, I don't want to help him." My mother said, "No, she's our neighbor, they are our neighbors and he's your friend." I said, "No, he's not my friend." So I didn't want to help at all. But then my mother said, "No, you should help him." So I reluctantly agreed. And then I was trying to explain maths to him. And even basic arithmetic, he just couldn't get it. He was trying and he just couldn't get it. He just didn't have the intellectual capacity. For some people, their weight is more than their IQ at times. Not to be sarcastic, but it's just, he didn't get it at all. And one part of me wanted to laugh at him. But then, at that time, somehow I felt that he's trying, he's not able to do it. It's just like, even if I try to walk, I can't walk without his assistance. So he said, if he laughs at me at my physical limitation, and I laugh at him at his intellectual limitation, then what is the difference between the two of us? So, probably I didn't think those thoughts in those words, but somehow that stayed with me. I could say that life is unfair. Why did I have this physical disability? And that is true. But then I could turn the question around and ask, why do I have this intellectual ability? So in the big picture, yes, life is unfair for everyone. But life is fairly unfair. What do I mean by fairly unfair? That in some ways, we get worse than others or worse than what we think we deserve. And in some ways, we get better than what we deserve. So, this fairly unfair theme, one of the most important choices that we all will make in our life is whether we will focus on how life is unfair to us or we'll focus on how life is fair to us. Life is both. When we focus on how life is unfair, we will become resentful. We'll become filled with negativity. We'll feel as if the world is against us. Fate is against us. Maybe God is also against us. And that negativity will cripple us. On the other hand, if we look at how life is fair, we will become resourceful. We will try to see what resources do I have and how can I use those resources. So, when we look up, when we turn towards Krishna, when we chant Krishna's names or do some puja, like we are doing Tulsi Puja now. Now we may say this, oh, this is just my culture and I'm doing it because it's my culture. Or, oh, it's some religion, this is the religion that I was born in, so I have to do this. People expect me to do this. Well, those are not bad motives for doing this, but they underutilize the value of what we are doing. That the biggest advantage of looking up, when we look up, what happens is that we remember that there is a bigger reality. There is a bigger picture, there's a bigger reality. What I am seeing right now, it may be real, but it is not the complete picture. It is not the complete picture. There is more going on in life. So it was later when I read Srila Prabhupada's books that God part registered in me more. But fortunately, that idea of ability, that there is some ability that I have to do something, that was something which very much played an important role. So I'll talk about 3 points today. That there is divinity that is above us, and then we, each one of us, have some ability. Now, if we combine both these two things, if we combine the idea of there is an overarching divinity and I have been gifted with some ability, then that increases our responsibility. Adversity will come upon us, we cannot change that. So these 3 themes, I use the acronym RAD. RAD is sometimes used for radical, but spirituality can bring about a radical change in our vision of life. That a radical change in our vision is that, okay, it is my responsibility to turn towards my ability and to turn towards divinity, to be able to discover my ability. And then we can go through the most difficult of situations. Krishna tells Arjuna, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. You remember me, that is divinity. Yudhyacha, fight. That is your ability. That is what you are trained for. Use your ability. The whole point of Varnashram in the Bhagavad Gita was to help individuals focus on their abilities and utilize their abilities. Who would like to read the next paragraph? The third one. Yes, please.
Help me to remember that you and you alone are with me through all of life's turbulences, even those that take away my intelligence to know the right thing to do.
Yes. So life can be very stormy. Life can be very overwhelming. Life can be utterly demoralizing. Now, and as devotees, when we meet, we often greet each other, please accept my humble obeisances. So one day one devotee sent me a WhatsApp message, please accept my final obeisances. Now, it was early morning, I was about to start my chanting, I just had to call him, what happened? So people can become very demoralized. Now, generally speaking, when we face difficulties, that the difficulties themselves, they don't take away our energy, they don't take away our spirit. See, there is difficulty which is more like an external situation. Difficulty, now that will lead to distress. We will actually experience some emotion. But from there, we'll become discouraged. We become discouraged. We may even become desperate. Discouragement, despair. And then when there is despair, that is when we may quit. We may just give up. There may be death. Death is self-inflicted death. So now, discouragement. The difficulty comes. From that difficulty, distress will naturally feel. Anything goes wrong. Now we could say in this sequence, are difficulties avoidable? Well, some difficulties may be avoidable, but the principle that difficulties will be there, that is unavoidable. So, what the Gita does is it warns us, this world is dukkhalaya. Don't have an utopian expectation that life will be like Disneyland or something like that. So, it's the Gita, when it says that this world is dukkhalaya, it is not being pessimistic. It is just being realistic. It is preparing us for life. Now, is distress unavoidable? We could say, yeah, largely unavoidable. If suddenly our health goes wrong, or we lose our money, we lose a loved one, various kinds of difficulties may come. Distress is also largely unavoidable. Now, is discouragement unavoidable? What do you think? Well,
Yes.
to some extent, yes. Like, if you don't answer, I'll get discouraged. And I have to wonder, is discouragement avoidable for me? So it is, we could say, somewhat avoidable. Is despair avoidable? Discouragement means it's like, okay, I don't have energy, I don't feel like anything. Despair means I just lose all hope completely. So this is largely avoidable. We all can go through difficult situations, but we don't have to become desperate. And death means, you can say, self-destruction when we call it. We destroy ourselves. That is entirely avoidable. Now, if we look at any problem in our life, we will notice this one thing, that the problem comes in our life, but often our own reaction to the problem makes the problem worse. Somebody speaks something hurtful to us, and then we hit back and hurt them, and a small thing can become big. So now what we want to do is, just to put this visually, that if I am here, some big problem comes and hits me, that's difficulty. Now when the difficulty comes, what will happen is, I feel burdened, I feel crushed by that difficulty. We will feel some distress. Difficulty is the problem coming upon us. We feel the distress, we may become discouraged by the distress. But despair means what? We just quit. Now, death means what? We bury ourselves underground. So now this is what we want to avoid. Arjuna has come to a point where he just feels, what is the point? In fact, what he says is, when Arjuna is crying, for a warrior to cry in public, we can hardly imagine how much agony he must be in, how much pain he must be in. To be crying in public, in a point of maximum visibility. He's crying because he's so overwhelmed. Nacha shakno me amasthatum Brahmati vacha me manaha nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. Everything is going wrong. I don't see anything good coming out of the situation. Why am I even here? What should I do? So he has almost gone to the point of despair. So difficulty has come, distress has come, discouragement has also come for him. But the Gita's wisdom comes as a buffer over here. The Gita wisdom, just as he is going towards despair, he could have gone toward despair and he could have said, I'm not going to fight. But he realizes not fighting is also not a good option. And therefore he turns toward Krishna. There's a difference in 1.46 at the end of the first chapter. Arjuna says, I won't fight. He puts aside his bow, indicating I won't fight. Nisrujya shasharam sasharam chapam shoka samvigna manasaha. I can't fight. And after this verse, 3 verses later, one more will come is Arjuna says, Nayotseti govindam uktva tu shrim babhuva nayotsya. I won't fight. So he is both places, 1.46 and 2.10. The point is the same, I won't fight. However, there is a big difference. In between, he has turned toward Krishna. And he is asking Krishna, what should I do? When 2.10 he is saying, I won't fight, he is saying, I won't fight till I get some clarity of what I should do. Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. So even when Arjuna is feeling there is no right way, what is he doing? He is turning towards Krishna. And that is the right way. The word intelligence has many different definitions. Psychologists talk about different kinds of intelligence. But one very practical definition of intelligence is to know what to do when we don't know what to do. To know what to do when we don't know what to do. So for example, we are having some small pain. We say, my body is cut. Oh, maybe I should do some dressing, apply some bandage over there. But there's a big cut going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I should go to a doctor. I should call a doctor. Maybe I should call emergency. So to know what to do when we don't know what to do. That is intelligence. And that is what Arjuna is exhibiting over here. Know what to do when we don't know what to do. So what does he do? He turns towards Krishna. So in the ordinary course of life, we may not feel the need for God. When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I started talking about it with all my friends and colleagues and relatives. So one of my uncles told me, God, I have a very good relationship with God. I told him, okay, really? I asked him, what is the nature of that relationship? So he said, I had never seen him go to a temple. I had never read any spiritual books. He had never talked anything about God also. And what is the nature of this good relationship? He said, mutual non-interference. He said, I am happy here and he is happy there. But the point is, yes, he is happy there, but we won't be happy here always. So in the normal course of life, when we feel this is the right way or that is the right way, we may not feel the need for God. So for many people, Krishna or God is like the spare wheel in their car. Spare wheel means what? That when something goes wrong, there is God for me to pray to. And that's good to at least know that God is a spare wheel. But far better, to have God as a spare wheel is good, but far better is to have God as our steering wheel. That it is God who is shaping our life. It is understanding that God is the central person in my life. Krishna is my greatest well-wisher. So, I said, when we look up, what happens is, there is a bigger picture. There is a bigger reality. Even if I see a dead end, my vision is not the complete vision. That when we look upwards, what happens is we realize that the world is so much bigger than what I perceive, than what I can conceive. And even when this problem is coming upon me, this is not the end of the world. So we tend to catastrophize, we tend to get overwhelmed. So, how does the big picture come about? The big picture comes out both vertically, horizontally. Vertically means that I am not in charge, Krishna is in charge, Krishna has a bigger plan. And horizontally is that I am not just this body, I am the soul, and the soul is eternal. Vertically, Krishna is the controller. Just because I can't control doesn't mean that it's the end of life. Okay, things have gone out of my control, but that doesn't mean they're completely out of control. They are still in Krishna's control. And we understand the soul is eternal. Now, what does it mean the soul is eternal? That even if I'm going through a bad phase right now, this bad phase is not going to be permanent. Bad phases will come, bad phases will go. Have any of you heard this word called Midas touch?
Yes.
Yes. What does it mean?
When you touch, it turns to gold.
Yeah, everything you touch turns into gold. It's from Roman mythology. There's a person named Midas. Whatever you touch, it would turn into gold. So I was in Florida in America, and one young man came to me and asked me this question: have you heard of the Midas touch? I said yes. He said, I think I have got the reverse Midas touch. He said, whatever I am touching, it just seems to fall apart. Everything is going wonderful. When I come there, everything becomes dreadful. He says, am I cursed? Am I jinxed? Is my life jinxed? So I told him, I says, do I really have is there something like a reverse Midas touch? I told him, don't be so proud. We don't have the capacity to destroy everything. We don't have the capacity to create everything. There is a bigger reality. So we are just going through a difficult phase right now. So the difficult phase, we cannot deny that it's difficult. It is a difficult phase. But it is not the ultimate reality. It is just a current reality. So when we understand this point, if you forget everything from this class, just remember this one point, that my present reality, whatever I am going through right now, it is not my permanent reality. Maybe right now I feel that nobody understands me. I feel nobody cares for me. Maybe I feel that I am so sick that nothing is going to work. Whatever it is, our present reality is not our permanent reality. Now, if our present reality is positive, that may lead to arrogance, pride. On one side, if it is positive. If it is negative, it can lead to insecurity, it can lead to hopelessness. But in between, if you understand that my present reality is not my permanent reality, what happens is, it gets arrogance or anxiety, as you call hubris. Oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. In between, what we have is humility. Humility and curiosity. So, humility is, I can't see the complete picture. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know how things are going to work out. Curiosity is, let me see how Krishna will work things out. That God has a plan. Let me see how Krishna's plan will unfold. So, humility and curiosity are two very powerful tools which every one of us has. So, Arjuna had the humility to turn towards Krishna. And he did say, Krishna, I don't think you know, you are also making these things up. No, Krishna knows. So, humility and curiosity. Let's look at the last part over here now. Who would like to read the last two sentences?
Bless me, O Lord, so that no matter what else I say, I may never lose the intelligence to turn towards you.
Yes. Can you read the last paragraph also?
Let confusion in the world never disconnect me from you. Let it only increase the fervency and urgency with which I seek a connection with you.
Yes. So, there will be confusion in the world, So I said that I'll talk about these things. Our responsibility that comes from looking at divinity and looking at our own ability. So when we look upwards, our responsibility, that's responsibility, it comes from our ability and divinity. So what happens when we look upwards towards Krishna? Krishna has some plan. So that once we understand that Krishna has some plan, then we can see, okay, what can I do in this situation? Krishna has some plan, Krishna will do his part. It is for me to do my part. So when we look at devotee, Krishna will do his part. Krishna's part is what he will do. And I am a part of Krishna, so let me do my part. So I'll talk about one story from the Mahabharata which illustrates this particular principle of responsibility, and then we'll conclude this discussion. In the Mahabharata war, Arjuna faced many setbacks. The worst setback that he faced was on the 13th day. That was the day when Abhimanyu was killed. And Arjuna was shattered at that time. Now, Arjuna had gone to a different part of the army, different place to fight with some warriors, and that time Abhimanyu got trapped. And Arjuna came back. He just couldn't get rid of the feeling that something terrible has happened. Sometimes, when something ominous is happening, we feel like a pit in our stomach. So when Arjuna was coming back that evening, he noticed that there was no celebratory music as would be there every day when the warriors were welcomed back at the end of a long, hard fight. Not only that itself means something bad had happened. But when he came, none of the soldiers would meet his eye. Everybody was avoiding looking at him. He started feeling that not only something bad has happened here, but something bad has happened about someone very close to me. And then he came in the main tent where he saw where all the warriors were assembled as they would assemble every day. First his eyes went to the center where there was the throne of Yudhishthir. He saw Yudhishthir was there, he felt relief. Then his eyes started moving here and there. And then he noticed the throne of Abhimanyu. And that was empty. Arjuna's heart stopped beating. He just couldn't believe the evidence of his own eyes. He didn't want to believe. Despairingly, he looked at Yudhishthir once again. And this time he noticed that Yudhishthir's face was marked by tears that had flown down his face and had dried up. Arjuna collapsed on the ground, crying out, Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu. Yudhishthir got up from his throne and walked towards him with heavy steps and a heavy heart. And he narrated what had happened, how Abhimanyu had been trapped. Arjuna went through a series of negative emotion, shock, that something like this so catastrophic had happened. That was followed by guilt. I am a warrior. I am meant to be a protector. I couldn't protect my own son. Alas, he said, during his last moments, Abhimanyu must have called out for me. Fire on me that I was not there. I went to seek my own glory and let my son be killed. From that guilt came anger. That anger came first towards his brothers. He looked especially at Yudhishthira and Bhima. Said, are all your weapons just ornaments? Could not one of you protect my son? Shame on you. When Arjuna spoke those words, these were like lashes on the faces of Yudhishthira and Bhima. They jerked backwards in pain. At that time, Krishna came by the side of Arjuna. He pulled him into a hug. Side hug. Krishna told Arjuna, "Oh Partha, in this world, adversities befall everyone, the wise and the unwise. What differentiates both of them when adversity comes, that when bad things happen, the unwise act in ways that make things worse, that increase the suffering, that increase the pain. The wise act in ways that make things better. O Partha, look at the faces of your brothers. Can you not see that they are also in pain at the death of Abhimanyu, just as you are? Please, O Arjuna, do not speak words that will increase their pain." So Krishna takes a very practical approach. Krishna does not go into philosophy. Krishna does not shame Arjuna. Krishna doesn't say, Krishna doesn't say to Arjuna, just 13 days ago, I taught you the Bhagavad Gita. I told you we are not the body of the soul. I told you that wise people don't lament at the time of death. How did you forget all of it? Are you still a dumb person? Maybe I should have found somebody else to speak the Gita to. Krishna did not snap at Arjuna. Krishna did not yell at Arjuna. Krishna did not guilt Arjuna. Krishna solaced and strengthened Arjuna. As Arjuna started thinking, he recognized, even in his pain, that the Pandavas had made a sound strategy. The strategy was that Chakravyuh would have destroyed their entire army, so Abhimanyu would break in and they would follow. But Jayadratha had been the spoiler. He had been the ruiner. He had got Abhimanyu trapped. And therefore he decided that I will teach Jayadratha a lesson. He killed my son, I will kill him tomorrow. And I will not live if Jayadratha lives by tomorrow evening. I will enter into fire if I do not kill Jayadratha. Arjuna spoke those words with such ferocity that the despair and utter gloom that had come in the Pandava camp suddenly transformed into anticipation, even celebration. An Arjuna who had taken a vow like this would be not just a force to reckon with, would be a force that would be unstoppable. Now that evening, that night, when Krishna and Arjuna, after they made their plans, they were going to sleep, Krishna told Arjuna, why did you take such a vow so hastily? Why didn't you ask me first? It will be very difficult for you to reach Jayadratha tomorrow. Drona will arrange the entire army to stop you. So Arjuna said to Krishna, I do not understand your anxiety. And he spoke two sentences that we can all try to remember. He said, Krishna, I know your power and you know my power. Krishna, I know your power and you know my power. So that combination of my power, of Krishna's power and Arjuna's power, that enabled Arjuna to next day reach Jayadratha. And he fought like never before and he came very close to Jayadratha. But at one particular point, Duryodhana brought 8 warriors to attack Arjuna simultaneously, 2 from each side. And Arjuna fought against all of them, but he could barely hold himself. There was no chance of going ahead. The sun was coming closer and closer to the horizon. And Arjuna's spirit started drooping. He started despairing. He could see Jayadratha's chariot in the distance, but there was almost like a wall of arrows blocking him. At that time, as Arjuna began to despair, so close yet so far, Krishna showed his power. Krishna summoned the Sudarshan Chakra and covered the sun. Some people say that is the time when a solar eclipse occurred. Whatever happened, when suddenly darkness spread across the battlefield, the Kauravas started celebrating. They started mocking Arjuna. Jayadratha, who had been hiding behind other warriors like a coward, came forward. Arjuna, you are going to kill me? Now, shall I light the funeral pyre for you? Arjuna started lowering his bow in dejection. Krishna spoke urgently to Arjuna. Arjuna, there is still time. Put the Brahmastra on your bow and point it toward Jayadratha. Arjuna naturally had questions. The sun has set. Arjuna knew that there is a time to ask questions. And this is not that time. So Arjuna did not ask. Arjuna picked up the bow and pointed toward Jayadratha. And then Krishna removed the Sudarshan Chakra. And Krishna said to Arjuna, Arjuna, there is the sun and there is Jayadratha. Shoot! And Jayadratha had been watching and he had been mocking. His mouth had initially opened to laugh at Arjuna. And that mouth remained open, but the eyes changed from mock to shock. And even before Jayadratha or anyone could do anything, Arjuna's arrow just sped through the sky and lopped off the head of Jayadratha. Now, as his head went far away, the Kauravas held their heads in utter agony and Krishna and Arjuna celebrated. So, what is this particular incident? We can go on further what happened. But what the incident says is that Arjuna, he exerted himself to his full capacity. Arjuna did not say, Krishna, I know your power, you are all powerful, you make my effort successful. No, he says that when we do all that we can, then Krishna will do all we can't. When we do what we can, then Krishna does what we can't do. So the human divine partnership is that Krishna has given us our ability and we are meant to use our ability. But there are many situations when our ability may seem so tiny, so meager, so insignificant that we may feel what is the use of doing anything at all. But if we look up, Krishna has some plan. Keeping that in mind, if we keep moving forward, we do what we can, then Krishna will do what we can. And that's how remembering Krishna is the right way when there seems to be no right way. That's how even through the most difficult situations, we can move ahead and we can emerge stronger. I'll summarize. Our topic today was strength in difficult times, strength in difficulties. So how do we have strength? I talked about three main things. The first point I talked about was difficulties themselves. In many ways, difficulties are unavoidable in life. We talk about three kinds of difficulties. As adversity. Adversity is natural. Then second is atrocity. That is, somebody intentionally hurts us. And then third is agony, is where we ourselves have to do bad things. We are just left with no option. This is probably the worst difficulty that a person can have among the various difficulties that are possible. So in this, we discussed how the sequence difficulties, if we look at the stages, see, difficulties are external and they are largely unavoidable. We discussed the scale from unavoidable to avoidable. So when there are difficulties, we will feel distress. That is also largely unavoidable. But from distress, what happens is we may go towards discouragement. Oh, will what I do make any difference at all? Will it, won't it? From discouragement, we can go to despair. And from despair, we may go to destruction. We can destroy others, we can destroy ourselves, self-destruction. Now, thankfully, this is not an inevitable journey. So, Gita wisdom came to Arjuna in between. And that helped him to rise upwards. So, how do we rise upwards? I talk about two main principles over here. That when we are going through life and we meet a dead end, we meet a huge obstacle. So what do? We look upwards. When we look up, what does it do? It helps us understand that there is a bigger picture. That my present reality is not my permanent reality. It is not equal to my permanent reality. And that leads us to avoid the two things. We don't have ego or arrogance. We don't have hopelessness or despair, anxiety, insecurity. What we have is in between two things. Humility is, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what Krishna's plan is. But Krishna has a plan. And then curiosity. Humility and curiosity. So, now with that humility and curiosity, what do we do? How do we move ahead? The last part I discussed was that when we look upward, that helps us. Now, we discuss these three things. RAD. R is what? Our response ability. So, our situation in life is that we always have to make choices. I discussed this point about how life is unfair, but life is fairly unfair. Now, it is for us to decide whether I'm going to look at the unfair part, which will lead to be negative pathway. I'm going to look at the fair part, that will take me to positive. Not resentful, but resourceful. So, that choice of how to be resourceful, how to make this choice of being resourceful, not resentful. So, our responsibility is that we look up towards divinity, that Krishna has a plan, that there is God's power which is far bigger than my power. We look at our ability. So Krishna told Arjuna that I know your power and you know my power. So we do what we can with our ability without becoming discouraged. We do it in a mood of service to Krishna. We do it in a mood of prayerful confidence in Krishna. And when we do what we can, that means we use our ability, then what happens is Krishna does what we can't. Now, how exactly Krishna will do what we can't, we don't know that. Krishna had not told Arjuna that this is how I will help you to reach Jayadratha. Krishna did not tell Prabhupada that at the age of 70, when you will go to America, this is where you will meet people and they will become your followers. So that is not known to us. But when we do what we can, Krishna will do what we can't. And that's how each one of us can go through even the most difficult situations in our life. Let us conclude with the starting prayer once again. That. Can you repeat after me? My dear Lord, even when there is no right way, you remain the right way. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Thai Gaur Premanande. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
I was just trying to understand where there is the faith stand.
Where does?
In that faith, in that picture of rat. And the reason I ask is that sometimes we believe that we have the ability, but the ability might not be enough. But then because of probably less of faith, I don't know if it's a faith or something, that we don't look up, or even if we look up, we don't act responsibly?
It's possible. So your question is, what is the role of faith in relationship with that concept of a radical change in our vision? So see, one point is that when we talk about responsibility, and we talk about ability and we talk about divinity. So the key point over here is that there are many abilities which we think we have, but they may not be as good as we think they are. And there are abilities which we may devalue them, but they may actually be very good. So we don't even know what all our abilities are. That's why we do what we can. But if something doesn't work out, we may have to shift path. So the standard example for this is that if there is a river going from a mountain towards the ocean. Now, a river may want to go by the straightest path, but sometimes there can be obstacles. So the river may have to go by a zigzag path. Sometimes the rivers may have to go way around before they get to the ocean. So the river is in one sense fixed in purpose. I have to get to the ocean, but it's flexible in path. How I'll get to the ocean, that is quite flexible. So similarly for us, Krishna, you are the right way. Serving you is the right thing to do. Remembering you, serving you, that is the right thing to do. We are fixed in purpose, but we are flexible in the path. When Srila Prabhupada went to America, it was not that he had studied very carefully American history and knew that there were people called the hippies over there and they would be interested in bhakti. Prabhupada tried many things and many things didn't work. He was trying this, trying that, so many things didn't work. But then finally, what worked was actually extremely unlikely. What worked was that the people from the counterculture who Prabhupada had lived so purely that he had never even taken tea or coffee. And these were people whose regulative principle was to break all regulative principles. They are the unlikeliest of audiences. So that's why that curiosity is there. Krishna, what do you want me to do? Prabhupada says, Ache ki chukarj tabbe ei anumane. Nahe ke no anibe na ei ugrasthane. My dear Lord, you must have some plan. Otherwise, why have you brought me here? I guess you must have a plan. So, for us, we always have to have that curiosity. Krishna, is this the way you want me to go ahead? And we try it a particular way. If it doesn't work, we try something else. So, Krishna will give us a way ahead, but it is for us to keep exploring. Is this working? Is this working? Is this working? And we are not adamant, this is the way only things have to work. Prabhupada in that sense was very flexible. Prabhupada initially wanted to earn a lot of money and donate for his spiritual master's mission. That didn't work out. And Prabhupada thought, I'll assist my god brothers because they are senior to me. But that also didn't work. Prabhupada thought, I'll preach in India, I'll have followers in India, then I'll go to America. That also didn't work out. So, Prabhupada was flexible. That's why that humility comes with curiosity. Humility means I don't know. I don't know what Krishna your plan is. And Prabhupada is saying, Anumane. I'm guessing you must have some plan, Krishna. Anuman. But that is leading to curiosity. Yes, Krishna. See, for us, if that divinity is not there, and if we only focus on our ability, then what will happen is we'll always have a feeling of inadequacy. Maybe my ability is not good enough. But if we have that vision of divinity, then okay, whatever situation Krishna will put me in, Krishna will give me the strength to deal with that situation. If Krishna had wanted to abandon me, he would not have brought me this far to abandon me now. We all can look at our own lives and we all are survivors. We are thrivers in some ways, but we all survived very difficult situations. And if we are introspective and honest, we can actually admit that it is not just by our intelligence and our expertise that we survived. But there are so many other things fell in place. So Krishna has got us through many difficulties. And if Krishna has got us this far, He has not got us this far to abandon us now. So therefore, faith means that I keep taking steps to move ahead in my service to Krishna. The river keeps moving toward the ocean. But the river, that faith is, I want to get to the ocean. The ability is, okay, can I push through this obstacle? I can't, I have to find another way. So that is the combination of the divinity and ability. Okay? Thank you. Good question. Yes, Prem?
Often we hear of great devotees or great people who do great things. And we were talking about divinity, we said, well, Krishna has helped this great devotee do this wonderful thing, like Prabhupada spreading Krishna consciousness all around the world. But what if we're a devotee and we have some faith, and how do we keep that when we're
How do we?
not achieving anything great here? How do we still, what's the faith in doing small things sometimes?
Yeah, see, that is one of the main reasons for discouragement. See, the way we become discouraged, I said distress comes upon everyone, but how does distress lead to discouragement? What the mind does is, the mind devalues our efforts. And that is what actually ruins us eventually. This is what, when the mind devalues our efforts, this is where we start becoming not just discouraged, we can go into despair. And there is, whatever I do, what difference is it going to make? It's not going to make any difference. So why do anything at all? So how do we avoid devaluing our efforts? That is by understanding that each one of us is a part of Krishna. Mamaivamsho jiva loke. So now what does it mean? You want to avoid this? You avoid it by understanding that we are, or you can put it more personally, I am a part of Krishna. Now when I am a part of Krishna means, that is a philosophical truth, but there is a practical or psychological implication of that. That means I have a part in Krishna's plan. If I am a part of Krishna, that means I have a part in Krishna's plan. Say, if somebody is a part of the Australian cricket team or the Indian cricket team, if they are a part of the team, that means they have a part in the team. Isn't it? Now somebody may be dropped from that team. We will never be dropped from Krishna's team. We are always a part of Krishna. And we'll always have a part in Krishna's plan. Now the problem comes is that we often want to do, see, our efforts, they may sometimes be that we do something wonderful. But that is sometimes, that is rare. But we can always do something meaningful. The problem is we devalue our efforts because we are not able to do anything wonderful. But every moment is an opportunity for us to do something meaningful. Now all of you could have stayed home today and maybe watch TV or just surf social media or just chit-chatted. You chose to come here. That has added some meaning in your life. I could have stayed on in India. I am traveling here. So it is not, I am able to do something meaningful. So for all of us, the trick which the mind uses is that, what is the value of what you are doing? Why do it? But the important thing is, that is how the world values what I am doing and how Krishna values what I am doing. So now how much the world will value what we are doing, that is not in our control. That depends on people, you could say that depends on our past karma, that depends on so many factors. But how much Krishna values what we are doing, that is very much between us and Krishna. There are many sweet stories about this, how Sudama gave some broken rice, and Krishna was so pleased by that. When Lord Ram was building the bridge, there was a tiny squirrel. The squirrel was just carrying what? Just some dust. Now that the contribution to building the bridge was insignificant, but Lord Ram considered it significant. So now it is also possible that if we keep doing meaningful things, in the long run something wonderful might also come out of it. But even if that doesn't, do I have the ability to do something meaningful right now? Do I have the ability to do something meaningful in the next moment? Yes, we have. So the desire to do something wonderful is good. Everybody would like to do something wonderful for Krishna. People want to do wonderful things for their ego. Devotees want to do something wonderful for Krishna. That is great. But what should not happen is that our desire to do wonderful things, even if they are for Krishna, a desire to do wonderful things for Krishna, that should not be greater than our desire for Krishna. That Krishna, I want to be with you, I want to serve you, I want to remember you, I want to love you. And as an expression of my love, I want to do wonderful things for you. But sometimes what happens is, I want to do wonderful things for you, that becomes more important than you. And then if I can't do anything wonderful, then why do anything at all? It becomes like that. So this is actually the speciality of Srila Prabhupada. You see, are there any other questions? Otherwise I'll go on longer in this answer. Okay, I'll just add a couple of points over here. If you see, Srila Prabhupada, if you look at his life, he met his spiritual master in 1922. Now 1966 he came to America. Now during this period, there was practically no success. Now there was success in the sense that he wrote 3 books, 3 volumes of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which were well reviewed. But it was not that success in the sense that he had lots of followers or lots of appreciation, something like that. There was no success. And once Prabhupada was asked, your godbrothers went to UK, to England, why did you come to America? Prabhupada gave a different answer, but one time it's so sweet. Prabhupada says that, my godbrothers went to London, they went to England and they failed. I thought if I am going to fail, let me at least try somewhere else and fail. So, now when Prabhupada went there, at this point, he had a whole lifetime behind him. He was already 69. And in one sense, he had nothing to show for his whole lifetime. Apart from his 3 books, 3 volumes. Nothing to show. He was all alone walking on the streets of New York. And yet, the people who met Srila Prabhupada at that time, what struck them was that Prabhupada was so happy. He was just happy talking about Krishna, writing about Krishna, singing about Krishna, cooking for Krishna. Prabhupada was just happy doing that. So, Prabhupada of course wanted to offer the world to Krishna. But because he had not been yet able to offer anything wonderful in the world to Krishna, he had not become discouraged. He was happy. So Prabhupada's desire for Krishna was greater than his desire to offer wonderful things for Krishna. And then from 66 to, if we consider 77, many miraculous things happened. He offered so many things to Krishna. This was almost miraculous success. Now, after this, what happened if we zoom in this period? There's one project, one temple for which Prabhupada worked harder than anything else. Anyone know which was the temple? There's a temple in Mumbai, in Juhu. Now, there are books written about how much Prabhupada struggled to build that temple. Now, does anyone know when that temple was inaugurated? Okay, when did Srila Prabhupada depart from the world? 1977. 14 November 1977. And the Juhu inauguration was on 14 Jan 1978. Just 2 months. Now this was the temple for which the Prabhupada had fought. Literally, not just a metaphorical, literally devotees had been attacked and manhandled. So Prabhupada fought for this temple. Now Prabhupada could have said to Krishna, Krishna, please let me see this temple. Just 2 months. But just a few days before his departure, when Prabhupada was asked, do you have any last desire? Prabhupada said, Kuch ichha nahi. Kuch ichha nahi. So would Prabhupada not have desired to see that temple being offered to Krishna? Of course. But Prabhupada was ready to accept Krishna's will. So that is Prabhupada's greatness. Although he did great things for Krishna, he did not become so attached to doing great things for Krishna that he became neglectful of Krishna because of that. So the way we want to say is our offering in bhakti. We want to make offering. We want to offer our heart to Krishna, and we want to offer the world to Krishna. If you consider 4 quadrants like this, now we are able to offer the heart, yes. We are able to offer the heart, no. We are able to offer the world, yes. We are able to offer the world, no. So now, which is the best quadrant to be in among these? The 4th quadrant. This is the best. Now we could say Prabhupada from 66, or you could say more precisely 68, because the movement really started off from 68. Or Srila Prabhupada was in this quadrant. Now from 22 to 68, Prabhupada was in this quadrant. So now Prabhupada never went to the lower quadrants. That he was... Sorry, there's something off over here. Sorry, it's the other way around here, sorry. We are able to offer the world to Krishna, yes or no. And we are able to offer our heart to Krishna, yes or no. So Prabhupada's heart was always offered to Krishna, irrespective of whether he was able to offer the world to Krishna or not. Now at the end, the last 2 months in 77, Krishna brought him back over here. That he was not able to offer the world to Krishna, but Prabhupada accepted that. So now many times, what happens? If we are not able to offer the world to Krishna, we start thinking, what is the use of offering my heart also? So if we are here, from here we may go down over here. We don't want to do that. And sometimes when we are trying to offer the world to Krishna, we may not offer our heart. Sometimes what happens? We want to do big things for Krishna, but then we become more important than Krishna. I am doing this for Krishna. So both of those are unwanted. So if we are able to offer something wonderful to Krishna, we can be grateful. Krishna, it is you who empowered me to do something wonderful. If we are not able to offer something wonderful to Krishna, still we can offer our heart to Krishna and we can be graceful at that time. Krishna, this is your will, I gracefully accept it. Now, if we are not offering either our heart or the world to Krishna, that is when we will become resentful. And if we are able to offer the world to Krishna, but we are not offering our heart to Krishna, that is where we will become prideful. I unfortunately see many devotees in these 2 quadrants. We do something for Krishna and they are so desperate. I have done this, I have done this. They are so desperate for that recognition. And when somebody is trying to do something for Krishna and they are not able to do it for whatever reason, then they become so bitter towards others, bitter towards other devotees, bitter towards the management, bitter towards everyone else. Basically, then what is happening? In trying to offer the world to Krishna, if our heart becomes filled with bitterness, then in trying to offer the world to Krishna, we are making our own heart unofferable to Krishna. We don't want to do that. So, Krishna, whether I can do wonderful things for you or not, I will always offer my heart to you. That's the mood in which we can keep doing something meaningful for Krishna. And if He wants, that meaningful will be transformed into wonderful sometime later. Okay. Thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.